Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
What is up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, 2015. Thank you for tuning in to Starseed Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. I am your host, Jonah Bolt. Today, we're going to be talking to a special guest who we can't get a hold of right now, so we hope this special guest does call into the show. And we could talk to Miss Jenny Diodora. I haven't been able to get in touch with her this morning, and if not, I will try to bring on another guest. But hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. We were broadcasting, and I have been working all weekend long. But I hope everyone else had a nice, relaxing weekend. With that, just want to give a shout-out to StarseedRadio.com for the latest news and updates. Please check Starseed Radio, our Twitter feeds, as well as check out StarseedTechnologies.com. We have some amazing new technologies in the food production, water recycling, and power energy realm, as well as earth minerals, and that talks about moldavite and my favorite stone, shungite. Shungite's an amazing healing stone. If you contact us, we'll send you a free sample. You can call toll-free 888-400-2328 at any time, 24/7. If someone doesn't pick up, leave us your information. We will get back to you. Again, that number is toll-free 888-400-2328. With that, we're going to start with our daily quotes, and it goes a little something like this. We have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce a kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, the least visionary. We are led by the least among us, and we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons. That person for that famous quote was none other than Terence McKenna. And if you don't know who Terence McKenna is, please Google, YouTube him, and check him out. Amazing quote. And with that, we're going to get started with the daily download. Joining us is Ryan Matthew Durnick from bellwetherpost.com. And I'm sure there's lots of news to cover. As always, Ryan, good morning. How are you today?
Very well, Jenna. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm, as you can hear, drinking my shungite water and feeling good. Had a good Labor Day, worked all day, was here till about 2 a.m. in the office last night. I did have a couple beers, so I'm not at my highest energy level this morning, but let's get started with the daily download. What's going on with Mother Gaia today?
Well, today on September 8th, the day after Labor Day, solar activity is very low. Not one of the small sunspots currently dotting the solar disk is actively flaring, and as a result, the sun X-ray output has flatlined, and no forecasters say the odds of a strong solar flare event are no more than 1%, so there shouldn't even be any auroras in the northern latitudes today because the solar disk is pretty inactive facing the Earth. On to earthquake activity. There was a 4.6 magnitude earthquake 239 kilometers south-southwest of L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand. As we know, this is a aftershock because and I apologize for the dogs in the background.
Oh, we hear Fido.
Yes, this was an aftershock that came on the heels of the 6.4 and 6.2 magnitude earthquakes that occurred about 118 miles away from L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand, and there's also been a series of other aftershocks thereafter in that area. There was a 4.6 magnitude earthquake 134 kilometers northeast of Shignick Lake, Alaska, a 5.5, as well, and a 5.6 also in L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand, about 181 kilometers away, and a 5.7 magnitude earthquake about 134 kilometers south-southwest of Pijijipan, Mexico. And other than that, there haven't been any other noteworthy earthquakes, but there was recent information that came out, if people have been checking out in regards to the ongoing threat of tsunamis on the western coast of the United States. that California faces the threat of earthquake-triggered tsunamis, and not in an area where one would regionally think, actually. Where they're looking in Southern California that may actually pose a substantial tsunami of possibly equivalent to the 2004 Indonesia box day tsunami that occurred there. So this was based upon new models that came out, and the models show the scientists focused on the Ventura Basin in Southern California, which just have offshore faults that can most likely generate earthquakes of magnitude 7.0 or greater. And this shows and revelates that the fact that the whole Western United States is basically vulnerable to earthquake.
And this is something we've been talking about for years on the show. And the seismic activity, the big Andreas fault, these things are still moving, expanding as Mother Gaia, the planet, always does. So very, very, interesting things, developments always happening over there. So pay attention, West Coast. This is why we go over this. It's to be aware, to always have in your mind, hey, this may happen. And if something does happen, develop earthquake, tsunami, whatever that is, you can immediately make the best decision to possibly save you, your family, or your own life. And that's why we cover this, to be aware. So,
exactly.
Good information on that. And we keep talking about the West Coast because it's prime.
It is prime, and it's actually already past due for, again, the Cascades subduction zone in the northwest United States. It is overdue. So these things are prime, and they're just something to keep an eye on. Now, onto markets. Stocks opened sharply higher on hopes of the fresh China stimulus and today, and they're tracking gains in global equity markets. Investors are betting that China's central bank will launch fresh stimulus in response to weak trade data. The U.S. stock market was closed on Monday, of course, for the holiday. But the S&P 500 is now up by a 1.5%, and up 29 points, or 1.5% higher. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 1.60 and has gained 270 points. So everything as right now is universally going up, which is good. And but if I'm sure you've maybe known about this, though. Have you heard about this? There's certain cycles that we focus on, and especially in regards to the Jewish calendar. There's a cycle called the Shemitah, which some people, analysts, really lay credence to, and how there's been a lot of things. If you look at the Shemitah, it's a 7-year cycle. In 1987, that was the biggest Wall Street crash. In prior to that, you had the Great Depression, but in 1987, you had the biggest Wall Street crash. 7 years later, in 1994, you had the Great Bond Market Massacre. 7 years from then, 2001. We all remember the 9/11 terror attacks. 7 years from there, the Lehman bankruptcy, global crisis, and now we're coming on the heels again of now going into the month of September, that and 7 years later from the 2008 crisis, that people are speculating. There's been New York Times bestsellers coming out and saying that there will be some kind of possibility of some kind of huge correction, because the Shemitah is basically like a judgment. If you will, according to the Jewish calendar. So, and this is, if you Google this is actually like a top 10% of Google searches have been on the Shemitah. So it's a topic. You just check that out online and see what you think of that. In regards to other things going on in Lebanon, Syria, unseasonable sandstorm has hit Lebanon, Syria. The sandstorm shrouded the capital city of Beirut on today, and the unseasonable sandstorm hit Lebanon, reducing visibility and sending dozens to hospitals with breathing difficulties because of the fine dust, a particulate that's suspended in the atmosphere, which if you have any upper respiratory problems already, are further aggravated by that. Now, Jonah, you and I have been about the chemtrails and such. We take pictures of these. People don't really realize what's in these chemtrails, actually. That's leads,
right. Or they think they're contrails, they're from airplanes, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, you can check this out. Raytheon, which is a defense contractor and actually a big company, they have the contract to actually create these basically what they call... Hello, Jonah?
Yes, we're here. We're live. Continue, please.
Okay. So these solar management practices, basically, as they call them, are there to reflect more sunlight into the atmosphere, thereby curtailing or countering global warming and its effects. But what's in these chemtrails that are released at certain altitudes within the actual jetliners? in the fuel. Well, what they do is they're ionized. They come out the back of the exhaust, and they have aluminum dioxide and barium salts. And you've had activists that have actually been pointing out the fact and doing their own independent test studies, because actually the EPA stopped really testing and revealing these tests about in 2003 or so, showing basically that they're bought and sold by someone else, and there's lobbyists that are controlling this.
Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that. I mean, that they're controlling the dissemination of information. But luckily there's activists that are out there that are really pushing for this information. And if you just check out recently, it was on C-SPAN. It was a public hearing on aircraft emissions. And the gentleman, Patrick Rohde's website, stopsprayingus-sf.com, and he basically goes into, for about 10 minutes to 30 seconds, talking about the problems with barium salts and talking about the correlations between increases in Alzheimer. Because why? What's Alzheimer's caused by? Heavy metals in the brain, higher concentration of heavy metals. And he talks about how this is an ongoing problem, and it's really sad that our own governmental organizations, the EPA, doesn't really divulge this information. So he has actually, on C-SPAN in San Francisco, beckons them to release this information by FOIA request to basically to give the knowledge to the people that we are being poisoned, that it's in our groundwater, that it's in our soil, that it's in our air that we breathe. And I think that that's just a really, really mind-blowing aspect if you think about it, that they're actually thinking that they can control the weather by creating these contrails or these chemtrails. And you look at them, we take pictures, Jonah, and we see in the sky, and you see them expand over time. And what it is it's this high-altitude cirrus blanket that reflects light with metal. And that's why if you look at the sun sometimes, you'll see sundogs. And what they correlate the sundogs to is it's a rare occurrence. But with his study, it shows that the sundogs are basically a cause of when you refract light like that, and it surrounds the sun in a circular fashion around the sun as a halo. It's from the suspended metal particulate in the atmosphere that is subsequently put out in the atmosphere from jet exhaust chemtrails that are being, again, put out by Raytheon. So it's just something to keep in mind and to focus on, and do and again, as Jonah and I say, it behooves the general public. Do your due diligence, do your own research, and realize, again, that knowledge is power, and that you have to be part of the change that you want to see, as Gandhi said. Otherwise, we're no different than sheeple grazing on the open pasture, so to speak. So the ongoing Syrian refugee crisis is now reaching a fever pitch, but 500,000 refugees are going to be allowed into Germany each year, which is nice of Angela Merkel. Some people are worried that this could cause a collapse, but you know what? As I said yesterday, we're all refugees. Okay, if you look at star seeds and such, we're all refugees. So we have to be one with our collective.
That's right, and I definitely agree with that. And we all, talking about border control and things like that. Listen, even Americans, invaded this country, if you want to look at it like that. So absolutely, we all of us are, refugees of some sort, in a way.
Mm-hmm. No, most definitely. And actually, there was a laser that actually was tested in a lab that actually can manipulate the spin of an asteroid in simulated experiments. And this is good because in the future, and always, we have celestial bodies that come near to our atmosphere and maybe even could penetrate our atmosphere and cause a cataclysm. It's shown, if you look at topographical analysis of maps, that you can see craters all over the Earth that have been from previous, if you call ELE events, extinction level events, or very localized events, dependent upon the side of the celestial body that impacts the Earth. So this is a great advance that's been showing some promise that we may be able to deter asteroids in the future by just manipulating their elliptical planes of where they're coming in or where they're coming by the Earth, and actually manipulate them so they go harmlessly away from our planet, and we are able to sustain life from. Because again, these are just some of the advancements that we're seeing, I just think that
And
overall,
I was sorry to interrupt. There's so much happening in the sector of technology. It's really exciting. I mean, just look at the last month of stories of cracking the codes of DNA to stop cancer growth, and the FDA putting that marijuana does heal cancer on their website. I mean, like there's like major shifts in all different realms. So there definitely is something going on more than meets the eye. As G.I. Joe used to say, right? More than meets the eye. Of a movement, of an awakening happening. So it's really exciting, all these news technology type of stories that are coming out to really show people that times are changing.
They are. And before you let me go, Jonah, I just wanted to talk about who our Game of Thrones individual of the day would be.
Yes, drum roll, Game of Thrones person of the day, Ryan.
He used to be the lawyer for Monsanto's for 4 years. Mr. Clarence Thomas represented and gave legal counsel to Monsanto's. But after President Obama became president in 2008 and has been president now for 2 terms almost, Clarence Thomas is the Supreme Court Justice, a judge at the Supreme Court Justice. He has no conflict of interest. I think not.
Wow.
I'm sure he does.
Wow.
And I'm sure he's still funded by them. So look who owns this country. The FDA, the USDA. Obama is like a big lobbyist. And now Clarence Thomas is also a Supreme Court Justice God. And used to be a lawyer for Monsanto.
Right from the thrones, the kingdom of Monsanto. we need to start naming the kingdoms. Kingdom Monsanto. That's got to be one of the 7, Game of Thrones.
7 realms.
You know what I'm saying? And we got to come up with emblems for each house. The House of Monsanto. The emblem should be like a needle or something. You know what I'm saying? We got to get real on the radio, man, because people really need to understand what these companies are doing. So the vice president of Monsanto leaves and then takes a job as head of the FDA.
Michael Taylor, yeah. And then you have, they're all,
come on, man.
Like, look at the revolving door in Monsanto's. It's like, oh, you were in Monsanto's? You should run a three-letter organization in the government. How does the FDA sound? And oh, you want to make laws? You were good at representing a company that puts GMOs out and competes with farmers that are actually trying to have organic foods and stuff for the population. No, let's put you as a Supreme Court justice because you're not going to have a conflict of interest when it comes to honoring the Constitution.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Of course not. And of course, we have Janice Fields was also a former president of McDonald's, who also went to Monsanto, and then another former Monsanto guy left that and to become the head propaganda machine at McDonald's. I'll say that. It's like all the corporations, they just switch and swap with each other, and it's all good. So, anyways, Ryan, thank you for the daily download. We're going to jump to our guest of the show. Check out Ryan's posts and his blogs on Starseed Radio or bellwetherpost.com. He's always posting up articles and stuff to pay attention to. So,
and I'll be revamping the website shortly. I'm going to be upgrading the whole website and stuff.
Oh, excellent. Good.
Yes.
Good to know.
Well, thank you,
Ryan,
John.
thank you so much. And with that, we're going to bring in our guest of the show. We have joining us all the way from down under. We have Mr. David Love. David, you with us? David probably still has his mic on mute. David, you there?
Hello.
There you go.
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning. All the way from Australia. How are you?
Good morning. Absolutely. It's like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, God. Well, it's noon here. You must be up late, so we appreciate you joining us. If you would, David, we always talk about current events. I know you heard the news Ryan just went over, and I know you're very up to date on what's happening with Ukraine, things like that. If you would just take a few minutes, David, and give us your update on news perspectives on what you see happening in the world, coming from Australia, where you're sort of getting a different news feed, news source. What are some current events? What are some things happening that you're paying attention to on your side of the world?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show again at the last minute. I'm always honored to be on Starseed Radio, and I talk to you quite a bit during the week whenever I get the chance. And this life is crazy. Let me just start there. there's so much going on. I wouldn't even know where to begin. And I took your cue quite a while ago, and I really try to use discernment, and I really stick to Vice News and sources that I feel I can depend on, and that are sort of more or less objective and unbiased. And it's really difficult to sift through it all. But I'm very concerned about the same thing as you are. Certainly I'm concerned about, because of where I am, what's happening in the South China Sea. The United States seems to be having a big face-off with the superpower nations, Russia and China, and particularly China at the moment. Because the polar ice caps are melting, Russia has, I don't know exactly how many troops they have there, 80,000 troops and artillery ready to, dig for gold and oil exploration. China's up there. They've got 5 naval ships, I believe, huge battleships off the coast of Alaska. And now the same dispute's going on down here in the South China Sea with a number of nations, including Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Australia. The Australian Defence Force is very concerned about what's happening in the Spratly Islands with China building platforms there, which are pretty much completed, and they've got gliders with nuclear missiles, apparently ballistic missiles, ready to go. They've got their battleships down there, some of the biggest. The United States is talking about making a pass by just to intimidate them because they're got their battleships off the coast off of Alaska. So things are pretty wild right now. And of course, the Chinese economy is a big scare because Australia's economy is so dependent on China and imports and exports from and to China. So in what little I know about it, because I don't really follow the politics here per se, I don't really follow politics at all, and I don't really follow world events quite that way. I don't, stay glued to it really. I try to just stay focused on what I need to do. But certainly, another thing that I'm really concerned about, Jonah, is
Well, I think everything you brought up so far is pretty, relevant. I know, you don't pay attention to politics, but you're more paying attention to just, global news of some big things that are happening. You talk about Ukraine, you talk about China. Politics, to me, David, and why I don't pay attention to what's going on with the presidential race, I can give a crap about that stuff, because really that's the games. That's just that's like watching football, the gladiator games. They're just keeping the people entertained. Democrats, Republicans are trying to push this law, push that law. That's the games. That's like watching the NASDAQ and actually thinking that's real. It's like legalized gambling. It's just, don't pay attention to the BS games. Pay attention to the real movements and the real events that are happening, like you're talking about. And I think that's more of what you're saying, is that you don't pay attention to the small stuff like politics. To me, that's just bickering, and it's just a show just to keep people engaged, that they actually make a difference, that if they vote this way, that's actually going to, matter. We all know we're getting sprayed from chemtrails, poison from Monsanto and GMOs, fluoridating the water. I mean, the whole system is riddled with poison. It's way bigger, and the politics is just to keep the people busy thinking that they're going to change something.
That's right. All that stuff. We all know all of that stuff's happening, and it's one of the things that my partner Lana is concerned about is Nibiru, and one of the more interesting things I've sort of gotten about climate change recently from my own intuition is that I saw something really strange. It was in the Pacific, and it was a headline that said that there were 3 Category 4 hurricanes at the same time, when there have never even been 3 category hurricanes at the same time. And what I came to realize is that this is probably from weather weapons. This is actually being caused by our own intelligence agencies or militaries. This is being caused by the elite. I don't believe
I have to agree with you on that one, but continue, please. Yeah.
A lot of these changes and a lot of this stuff that we're being told this is why there's so much garbage information out there, and this is why people call it conspiracy theories, rather than it's so hard because we've got so much crap being thrown at us that we don't know, what the truth is, what the real. It's really difficult, to sift through it all, like I said.
And that's why people like to use that term, it's a conspiracy theory. It just helps shrug off the reality that they don't want to pay attention to. That's like, family and friends that I have that I'm very close to, when I talk about like 9/11, don't talk about that conspiracy theory. Yeah, it's a real big conspiracy theory,
Yes.
But the theory that I can portray to you and explain is based upon factual data and information that has been found or not found, like pieces of the airplane at the Pentagon. There was never a piece of an airplane found at the Pentagon. I mean, give me a break that, 2 6-ton jet engines disappeared in thin air. It doesn't matter if it dropped from outer space into the ground, you'd still have remnants left over from that. So, anyways, the conspiracy theorists are just a label for people to use because they don't want to face their own internal fears that if what we're saying may be true, it shatters their whole reality. And that's what they're afraid of.
No, that's true. And the things that they're calling...
Oh, David, we have a break. Hold on right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're joined by David Love from Australia, talking about the latest news, current events, and updates. Hang on right there. You're listening to Starseed Radio.
Even the Declaration of Independence was made on hemp paper. Thomas Jefferson at hemp fields. Let me tell you what the things organically grown hemp yields. Jack Young tried to tell us the news.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
Jedi Master? Yoda. You seek Yoda.
Yoda.
Clear your mind of questions. You must unlearn what you have learned. A Jedi's strength flows from the Force. That is the way of things. For my ally is Force. And the powerful ally it is. Its energy surrounds, it binds us. It binds us. Luminous beams are we, not this crude matter.
Yes, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. I just got chills every time I hear that. I love you, Yoda. Thank you so much for your wisdom. You're listening to Starseed Radio, and it is so true. Energy combines us all. So talking with David from Australia here, all the way on the other side of the world, going over some latest news and updates, things you're paying attention to. But as Yoda just said, David, at the end of the day, with all the craziness and all the stuff going on, the good news is, people, listeners, family and friends out there that are hearing this all over the world, is that we all go back to the light. We all return to the light. All of this is constructed on light. Atoms are surrounded by photons, which are particles of light. We're all light. It's all light. And that concept alone is the journey that I've been on, trying to figure out, well, what is a light being? If I'm a light being and a spiritual being living a physical existence, what am I? What is that? Where does my beingness come from? This is where I say I'm Jonah Bolt, the Arcturian starseed. My soul, my energy originated from the star of that star system, Arcturus. We've all originated from somewhere. That is the journey of life aboard Spaceship Earth. It's incarnating as these spiritual beings to live a physical existence. Very exciting, very hard concept to understand. And this craziness we're experiencing is part of the duality of yes, no, good, hate. Bad people, good people. That's the duality we're here to experience. So if World War III pops off and nukes half the world and whatever happens, unfortunately, we're all here to experience that in some way or another. And at the end of the day, David, you know this, we just have to sort of sit back and let it flow and not let any of this get fearful or get you fearful or in a place of fear. Just be open to it all and watch it as the Spaceship Earth TV show continues, because really when we do pass and transition to the higher levels of existence, everything is good and we return home, and that's really the way things are. The ancients knew it. Every tribe on the planet knew it. This is old information we're talking about. We're just making it new again. So let's continue talking about what's really happening in the world and what's going on and all of that. Just know It's all good no matter how it plays out. No matter what happens, it's the way it's supposed to be, and it doesn't matter if people are aware of it or they're not. Whatever their soul plan is exactly where they're supposed to be whenever these events happen. You mentioned Nibiru, David. Give the listeners a background on what you know about Nibiru and what you think may or may not happen. We've talked about it on the show, but give us some updates for listeners that may not be aware of what Nibiru is. What is it? Where is it coming from? And what can it possibly inflict on the planet?
I love what you just had to say, Joan. I just want to thank you. That's exactly what I needed to hear before I get into Nibiru, because I've been, I just got finished writing an article a little while ago about why we have pain and suffering on this planet and in our lives, and a lot of what you said is really helpful and addresses a lot of stuff that I've been going through over the past week. Anyhow, yeah, we do seem to be having a little bit of static here for some reason.
Yeah, I hear a little static and maybe some feedback or something. I'm not sure if you're using a headphone, but please continue. It's all good.
All good. Anyhow, so yeah, thank you for what you just said. And, as far as Nibiru goes, I'm not an expert in that area. I'm a private investigator. I also consider myself a mystic. Those are all just titles. They're just my path in life, my paths as a truth seeker, and I like to seek the truth, and that means everything is just information and experiences, and it's your interpretation of these things. And Nibiru is something that my partner Lana has explored quite a bit. I have not as much, and I don't know the facts on that. We both have a show called Universal Soul Love, which is on BBS Radio, and it'll be on in the morning. We're also on Dream Vision 7 Radio and Blog Talk Radio. But anyhow, I haven't really put a lot of focus on Nibiru, honestly. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't feel, and Lana will certainly argue with me on this point, that Nibiru is something that she feels is a major threat. Many people feel is a major threat to our existence. They call it the Destroyer. We've had Marshall Masters on our radio show talking about this. I've become good friends with Michael Tellinger. We've talked about this over dinner. Michael Tellinger does not see this as a threat either. He's the leader of the Ubuntu Party. We have an interview coming out with him as well soon on our show. So there's many people have many mixed feelings about Nibiru, a planet supposedly run by the giants, the Watchers, which I'm aware of, ancient alien beings, a race before recorded history, before Sumerian times, that apparently was on this planet, genetically engineered human beings as a slave species. They come from this planet X, Nibiru. Apparently Nibiru is at some point going to pass by our planet and cause major upheaval. Climate, it's supposedly responsible for climate change, social upheaval, economic distress, emotional distress. I don't know the truth. Some people think it's coming very soon. Lana believes it may be coming very soon. I haven't looked into the information, so I guess I really can't form a real factual, any kind of real opinion on it.
Well, I don't think anyone can really verify any facts, but you've done a very good job of explaining, this is a planet that some people claim are coming back around, a planet that could possibly throw our Earth's axis or electromagnetic fields off balance, as well as it could possibly attract in asteroids. I mean, everyone's got theories. Back when I started my show in 2010, people were talking about Nibiru coming around, and also in 2011, and then it's the blue Kachina, it's the red Kachina. So again, there's so many different variations and timelines and things. You really don't know. No one knows. Even the factual stuff, sometimes people think they know, from ancient scriptures. Timelines and things are always changing, so it's really the unknown. And I've seen a lot of videos, and I've seen a lot of evidence of it, of a planet being there, and it may be there, but I haven't really experienced or talked to anyone personally, like a scientist from NASA that's personally seen it or anything like that. I've just, from research done online. So it's a very hard topic to really ground out and get factual information on, versus like ETs or things like that, where we have numerous people we've talked to on the show that have seen them, that have interacted with ETs, that have been on craft, that's had visits, that had pieces of the UFO, from people that have worked in government, from downed UFOs that they've even shot down, or ones that have crashed. That's a lot more factual data than the concept of Nibiru, which no one is really nothing grounded in anything really to plead that case that it's even real. So it's really all just conceptual thoughts, and information from people trying to interpret prophecies like the blue kachina will come back around, the red kachina. A lot of people think there's a big event coming up this month. A lot of people are talking about it,
sure.
But it was the same hype in 2011, 2012, around the Mayans, and 2010. So it seems that September happens to be a month where a lot of hype sometimes gets created. But who knows? But it's just something to be aware of. Just like I said before with Ryan, these things are just made and were talked about to be aware of them. That's all. That's all we can do. But continue, please.
That's true. I mean, there are a lot of people in our network talking about wave acts. They're talking about something happening in September. Some people say it's going to be very good. Some people say it's going to be a catastrophe. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable enough in Nibiru to say that that's the thing that's happening. I hear a lot about asteroids. I also hear a lot of people saying that there's a lot of false flags. And so this is why when I say conspiracy theory, I'm more or less talking about the things that are sort of lacking in evidence and proof. And I'm not saying that there is no such thing as Nibiru. I'm not knowledgeable enough to form an opinion on it. But to me, intuitively, it's not the biggest threat. The things that I'm seeing with the economy, with climate change, with the global militarization, those things I can actually verify as happening, and I can see the buildup and the escalation of those events. So those things to me are more of an immediate concern and things to monitor in terms of our work. So I can't. I don't want to be distracted by things that sort of aren't really in my radar. So to me,
sure, they're just things to be aware of. Just like we said, they're just topics and things to be aware of. When you look at, now we touched on Nibiru, that may be a possible, but what are some other possible scenarios that you're hearing for September? I'm hearing false flag. We have the Jade Helm exercise happening, things like that. Here in the U.S. What are some other possible scenarios from what you've heard and people you've talked to the last few months of what can happen this month? Dollar collapse, and what do you think are some scenarios and the chances of them happening? What do you really feel may or may not happen? What have you been hearing from people you're talking to?
I've really been paying attention to what's going on with the Chinese economy, because to me that feels like the thing that, in 2008, I experienced the banking industry fallout, and it was at that time that I said to myself, we're going to have a global economic meltdown. And ever since then, while I was in the U.S., I watched us go over the fiscal cliff several times. I went through all of that, and I've seen what's happening, and I've been following it. And it seems like it's gotten to that point where we're really in an economic crisis at this point, and I don't feel totally comfortable with the whole thing. To me, that's the dollar collapse. And I know I talked to Robert Vicino, who runs Los Vivos, an underground bunker, and although I'm not part of that, they feel, their survivalists feel that that's the biggest threat as well. But again, we're talking about timelines and time frames, and I don't know how, it's possible for the economy to collapse almost in a day, really, because we have an integrated global economy and a whole electronic banking system. So it could go, really, no one really knows the truth, but it could go very quickly. But then again, it could take many more months to break down. I don't know, to totally break down before people start feeling the true impact of this whole thing in terms of imports and exports and the commodities markets and everything else and how it's all connected. Because the stock markets themselves don't represent the entire global economy. It's very complex. But in what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing from political economic experts, industry experts, professional economists, people I talk to all the time, and people from major investment institutions talking about this and about their concerns about the whole thing. And that stuff I do pay attention to, because it seems to come from people who are speaking the truth and who I feel intuitively are speaking the truth. And so those things, like I said, I do pay attention to that. And although that's not stopping me from doing anything that I need to do or anything you need to do, we're still going to go about our lives. We're still going to keep doing what needs to be done with our missions, and in spite of this. But it's like you said, it's sort of an illusion in a way. So,
well, it all is, and we, some of us that have a higher understanding of understanding what a higher illusion is, meaning that this is a dream state, this is a matrix, and when we pass and transition, when we die, we go back to the real reality, which is on higher realms of existence, when science proves now, computers even go multidimensional. NASA knows his Einstein space experiment concluded there's a fourth dimension, time and space vortex around the planet. So we have all this information now. Now I think it's time to really bring this knowledge back and re-educate people on what that means, because when you have that understanding, it's not that you really are better than or have a bigger ego, like, oh, this is just a matrix and whatever happens. But by knowing that information, you can navigate and start creating the life, all of us, in the world that we really want to see, because we really are creating in this matrix. That's the beauty of it. That's self-empowerment. That's why they want people dialed into their iPhones and their iPads and not communicating with people, because when we start communicating and talking, we synergize and we grow, and that's the power that the people have. So, not doing that, not communicating and staying alienated with each other is exactly what they want. So we're bringing back really just old information, old knowledge, and old ways of living. It's taking it back to tribalism. It's taking it back to simplicity. Yes. And that's what we have to do. That's what Tellinger's doing. People you're talking to, people I talk to, and we all want to see this happen. So you have to be aware of China and this and Ukraine and all these other things, but at the same time, just knowing that, yes, we are these spiritual beings, and don't get too stressed out, don't be in fear, let it play out, and watch, Spaceship Earth, and do what you can, like we do, to awaken as many people as we can to what's really happening, because the more people we wake up, the more of us can come together to change this reality for the better of humanity. And that's really what my mission is, and what your mission is to be a voice, be that change, just like Ryan said with Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. That's exactly it. So, simply put. Yeah. So it's
There's
good.
Nothing more. There's no bigger truth than that.
That's right. That's right. And what are also some things? I know we talked about, like, the dollar. We know the dollar is going to collapse. We know that's going to happen. We know tensions are going to heat up. Someone's going to pull the trigger sooner or later on one of these nukes, or something's going to happen. I mean, you got Iran, Israel, North Korea, Russia, China, U.S. I mean, the Middle East is a damn disaster right now. The Middle East is all over the place. I mean, who knows?
Crazy over there. It's really crazy over there. Russia has their boots on the ground in Syria now. It's I just don't know what to make of the whole thing, and I don't think in my 45 years on this planet that I've ever seen anything like it. And it's all very exciting, very entertaining in many ways to me. It's just a human drama unfolding, and it's this whole. We could talk about many things, but one of the things I've been dealing with this past week, one of the articles I just wrote, was about pain and suffering, and it's almost about that oneness of consciousness. We have this sort of us versus them mentality, and on this plane we do, because we do have the elite, and we are a slave species, but at the same time we need to rid ourselves of this us versus them mentality, this good versus evil mentality, because I know now that this has been the biggest manipulation of all, the idea that it's us versus them, or good versus bad. It's not true. And we've been manipulated by this idea of duality, the law of polarity. It's just not true. And we've been misled by people, leaders bringing on religion on us, pushing it and manipulating us and deceiving us with these ideas. And the only way we're ever going to get out of this matrix is to take responsibility for ourselves and for what we manifest, and to really seize our inner power and create the life that we really want, the reality that we really want. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, and stop having this us versus them mentality. We are gods ourselves. We are co-creators of the universe. That's my truth.
And that's so well said. And to piggytail on the back of that is, we all are gods and goddesses, and that statement is very hard for people to understand. I'm still going through that journey myself. What that means, what David implied, is the law of attraction works, manifesting works. What you say, what you feel, what you project, every single person manifests and creates that reality. So in a way, if you think about it, well, what does God do? What is a God? He creates. He's a creator. And we are gods and goddesses, literally creating nonstop all the time here, heaven on earth. That's what they're talking about in the Bible. That's the teachings that they taught. This literally is heaven on earth, where we can create material things in a matrix of light that responds to our voice and our sound and our intention. And that's why I've been able to manifest such an amazing life. And even though I go through my ups and downs, that's the experience we're here to experience. When I'm down, I'm down. And when I'm up, I'm up. And if I'm just in the middle and ride life in between and watch football every Sunday for the rest of my life, that's a really boring life and a waste of time for me. If I'm just getting married, working a job, 9 to 5, blah, 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 and then retire at 65, and then I just sit around and play shuffleboard till I die. I mean, that's just some, to me, that's what they've programmed me my whole life to think and feel. But I know now that I've awakened, that is not why we're here. We are here to experience literally life itself. And that experience is good and bad. It's up and down. And if you don't have that, what a boring life. That's the dynamics we get to experience. That's so amazing, and even when I'm down in the dumps, it's that gives me that chance to rise that much more up when I get to the other side of that.
You caught me at a moment when I am a bit down right now, and honestly, that's when I do my writing, and I sometimes indulge in that, and I get right into it, and I start really thinking about good and evil, and about myself, and about my past lives, and sometimes I think about myself as a dark angel or whatever, or and some of the things I'm aware that my past lives have done in these secret societies, and the things they've contributed to the world, and I look at myself, my insides, and I look at my experiences, and I realize I am here in this moment. This is our center of power. The present moment is where we create everything. This is where we create reality. Right now, right here and now, in this moment, we can create anything we want. And we can have any feeling we want. We can have any thought we want. We are choosing. And so I know, like you said, I've been through these ups and downs, and it's okay, and it's good, and it's experience, and it's just living life. And there is no fear, and there is no regrets. It's just life. and it's okay. And I don't mind. I write whatever I want, and I speak whatever I want. I like to express myself, and so I talk about a lot of things. I talk about labels like Satan and the devil and what that stuff means to me, and I feel pretty good about it, really. I feel pretty good about expressing myself and expressing my feelings and writing about them and my views, and I don't push my views. I don't force my views or my beliefs on people. I tell people, go seek your own personal truths. Whatever I say, it doesn't matter because it's just my stuff.
That's right. That's exactly what I say too.
That's just their stuff, and you can choose to accept it or not.
I think everything we've been saying is very important for people to really lay down, and thank you, David, for coming on and saying that. And just like you said, you're down yourself. We have these ups and downs. Let's all be real. Some days I don't feel like doing anything or even doing the radio show because I'm just in a place where I'm dealing with my own everything, my own bills, my own whatever that is, and that's life, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But at least if you have this understanding. It just helps you navigate through life a little better, knowing, hey, we're really just these spiritual beings living this physical existence, and at the end of the day, it's all going to be okay, no matter how it works out. If I end up living homeless on the street with not $1 to my name, I have to keep that up front, as crappy as the situation that may be to be in, and I don't want that to happen at all, but it's okay if I experience that because that's just part of this experience of life. And having that understanding is very key to people. We are gods and goddesses. We are instantly creating and always creating. And if people really understood that, we wouldn't have these wars and we wouldn't have a lot of what's happening around the world because people would really wake up. And that's why we talk about this stuff, to get this information out there, to wake people up, to stop the madness. And when enough of us wake up, we'll be able to change the world. That's what we're doing. So, David, thank you so much for joining us and coming on the show. And I'm sure you'll be, back soon. And tell people some information about your radio show as well and where people can find it and how they can listen in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to our show tomorrow. We have Nancy McGonigal, president of the Monroe Institute in Virginia, on our show tomorrow. We did a fantastic interview with her talking about astral projection, out-of-body experiences, consciousness studies, exploration of the afterlife, if you want to call it that. And she's her father was Robert Monroe. Her stepfather was Robert Monroe, actually, who wrote famous books, classic books on astral journeying, journeys out of the body, fire journeys, the ultimate journey. Her husband and partner is Joseph McGonigal.
Oh, that's the music. We're out of time. But David, thank you again for coming on. I'll shine lights. We have you back on soon. Listen to Stars Radio. Have a great day.